15 to 20% of all people are a highly sensitive person, or in short, HSP. Being highly sensitive means that you are more likely to feel things deeply, both the positive and the negative things, because of increased sensitivity of the nervous system. And this is an innate trait that HSPs are born with. But how can you know if you are highly sensitive yourself? That's what today's video is going to be about. I will share 10 signs that you are a highly sensitive person. Many HSPs sometimes feel misunderstood or just different than many other people. And many of us have heard things like you're being too sensitive or you need to toughen up, which of course is not possible because the way that we experience life is just a little bit differently and things affect us more deeply. Because HSP is not a disorder, it is also not something that you can officially be diagnosed with. So we also don't speak of HSP symptoms. You cannot say, I have HSP. It is, I am an HSP. It is a trait, just like being tall or having brown eyes. So it can be a little difficult to figure out if you are highly sensitive yourself, but there are a few characteristics that many HSPs share, and not all of these may apply to every highly sensitive person out there, but if you recognize yourself in most or all of these, then chances are you are a highly sensitive person. And HSP also exists on a scale, so even within that 15 to 20% of all people who are highly sensitive, there is a difference between those of us on the higher end of that spectrum and those of us on the lower end of it. Little disclaimer as always, I am making this video as someone who is a highly sensitive person myself. I've learned a lot about it, I've made many videos about it, but I am not a healthcare professional and this video is not medical advice. It is also not meant to diagnose or exclude the diagnosis of any condition. Number 1, you quickly feel overwhelmed by strong stimuli. Highly sensitive people have a nervous system that is extra sensitive to stimuli, both external as well as internal. We experience them more strongly and our brain also processes that sensory information more deeply. So think of bright lights, loud sounds, uncomfortable clothing, crowds, also things like hunger or thirst, cold or heat, strong wind, and also physical sensations like pain, touch, our emotions, and even our thoughts get processed more deeply. So it's not like how a dog has a better sense of smell than a human, for example. It's not like we can actually smell better, but the smell that we are smelling registers more deeply, gets processed more deeply, and therefore we experience it more strongly. If you take in all of that sensory information on a deeper level, then that also means that you can feel overwhelmed or overstimulated more easily, and that is something that many HSPs, including myself, sometimes find difficult to deal with. You may get tired or even want to leave the situation entirely. You may need a lot of time to recharge after a busy day of work, especially if you work in a busy environment, like the radio is playing all day and there are strong overhead lights and lots of people around. As a highly sensitive person, I've often compared myself to other people who really don't seem to get bothered by these things too much, and they seem to go through life rather easily and they don't really get like tired or overwhelmed like me. And that probably means that they are not a highly sensitive person, and comparing yourself to them isn't really fair, because we need both kinds of people in the world and we each have our own unique strengths and superpowers. If you're feeling really sensitive and you notice that something is draining your energy, it is okay to say something about it if you can. Like if I'm getting into a car with someone and I'm already feeling overstimulated and they have their radio on, I'll just kindly ask them if they could turn the radio down or off. I also always make sure that I have what I might need with me when I go out, so maybe some water and a little bit of food in case I get hungry or thirsty. I have some lip balm in case I have dry lips. I have sunglasses in case the sun is too strong. I will bring something to cover my ears if the wind is too strong. I will bring noise cancelling headphones if I have to take a long train ride. So it is okay to bring what you need to feel comfortable. So we get overstimulated rather easily, but the good thing is that we can also recover from that if we take some time for it, which is where number 2 comes in. Number 2, you often feel the need to be alone. Alone time is a necessity for highly sensitive people. If we're taking in all of that sensory information all day, after a while it can lead to nervous system overload, and that is when we feel the strong urge to retreat to be by ourselves, preferably in a dark, quiet, low stimuli environment. When I feel like this, usually I will go to our bedroom, I will shut the door, I will close the curtains, I'll put on some very low dim light. Sometimes I want silence, and sometimes I want like a really soft, relaxing music playing in the background. I'll make myself some herbal tea, maybe I'll read a book. This is how we recover from overstimulation, and after a while we can start to feel ourselves start to soften a bit more, and we can feel ready to move on with our day. Number 3, you notice things other people don't seem to notice. Highly sensitive people are very aware of subtleties, and that is why we can sometimes notice things and then point them out to someone else and they go, "Oh, right, I hadn't noticed that." For example, looking over a document that someone typed, but there's like a slight difference in font in a few lines, then we will notice that someone copy-pasted that in. Or things like typos, we notice them more easily. Picture frames not being centered or aligned on the wall correctly. And this is also part of the reason why we see that 15 to 20% highly sensitive minority in so many other species and not just humans. Because we take in all of that detailed information, we can then also spot things like predators, so danger, or food sources more easily. So it's a survival thing, and it also makes us more intuitive. We know things without really knowing how we know them, and that is because we're very observant and we can respond to the smallest of stimuli. One way I notice this, if there is a small change in my environment, HSPs need more time to get used to these changes. So if I buy a new furniture piece, even if I really love it, once I put it in my home, I start to feel unsettled and I need time to get used to it. We recently got new pillows and they are great, much more supportive and ergonomic than the ones that we had before, but it took me weeks to get used to these. Number 4, you're highly tuned into the beauty around you. HSPs are strongly affected by art, music, nature, beautiful things, subtle tastes and smells. We feel very deeply moved by these things. We may cry if we see a heartwarming video. I cannot listen to a beautiful piano song without tearing up. And when we're in nature, we just feel such a deep connection with it. Basically all the beautiful things that one can encounter in life. Of course, everyone values these things, but for HSPs, it just hits us on a whole nother level, and that is why it is so important for us to seek these things out, because they can nourish us on an emotional or even spiritual level. Number 5, you are physically sensitive to caffeine, sugar, alcohol, or even medications. If we are more sensitive to stimuli, then it makes sense that stimulants like caffeine also affect us more strongly. So you may notice that drinking too much coffee or even any coffee makes you feel jittery. I personally can handle 1 cup of coffee per day, but I cannot combine it with sugar. So like having a cup of coffee with a piece of cake, that is a no-go for me. I will feel really, really bad after. You can also notice a stronger reaction to alcohol, both in the moment as well as the next day, having a hangover that lasts like all day, even if you didn't have that much to drink. Or even medications. I have often had the experience that the lowest dosage of something was already effective or even too much for me. HSPs also react more strongly to a lack of sleep. It is because our brain and nervous system processes all that information on such a deep level all day that we need more sleep than most. And if we're having lack of sleep or jet lag, we will feel that more strongly. Same with hunger and thirst. We don't get hungry, we get hangry. We're more sensitive to dips and spikes in our blood sugar levels. So eating regular meals is a must, and skipping a meal is not a good idea. Number 6, you become stressed or irritated when asked to do multiple things at once, or when asked to do things quickly or on a timer. Many HSPs tend to feel frazzled when we're asked to do many things at once or do things quickly. We like to do things one at a time, and we prefer to take our time. We already feel overstimulated easily from everything that's going on around us, so when asked to do things quickly or to multitask, it can easily lead to information overload, which can lead to concentration loss or confusion. And if we're being timed while doing a task, many HSPs might consider that to be very stressful, and we will do less well than if we weren't being timed. Multitasking can also lead to our brain releasing cortisol, the stress hormone, and dopamine, which causes the fight or flight response, which, you guessed it, HSPs are very sensitive to. So if you can, try and eliminate distractions and stimuli while you're trying to get something done, so you can easily focus and get into that flow state, and also decrease the amount of information you consume on a daily basis if you need to. If you can do both those things, it can really help to feel less tired and drained at the end of the day. Number 7, you cry or feel emotional quickly, and you're moved to tears by both sad and beautiful things. So this weekend I watched the Titanic. Last time I watched it, I think I was like 12. I remember being seriously depressed for a week and my mom being concerned for my well-being. But I figured, like, I'm older now, I can handle it. Wrong, I cried my eyes out, which actually was fine, kind of relieving in a way. But I also remained in this emotional funk for the rest of the weekend. Because HSPs feel so deeply, we are also more susceptible to strong feelings. So we don't feel sad, we feel devastated. And we don't feel cheerful, we feel elated. And those feelings can also stay with us for a long time. Some HSPs have unfortunately gotten negative feedback about that in their life, and it leads to them trying to stuff their feelings down or like not feel them, so they're not going to cry in public. They might experience emotional buffering, which is when you're trying to numb your feelings by distracting yourself with something like shopping or binging on Netflix or food or alcohol. I'm trying to feel my feelings more lately and like deal with them in an honest way, and it's been a ride. We are also easily moved to tears by beautiful things. So when someone sees a nature scene, they might think like, oh wow, that's beautiful. But for an HSP, seeing the same nature scene might result in this deep feeling of gratitude, of connection, this overwhelming beauty. It's like we're absorbing it with our whole being, and that gives us strength. Number 8, violence and suffering in media can be extremely upsetting to you. You may find yourself wanting to avoid violent or scary movies, or movies that have like a really strong sense of suspense. Reading upsetting news articles, these things can weigh very heavily on a highly sensitive person. It can even be a source of anxiety or depressive feelings. Because we are such deep thinkers, we tend to really think about what we saw in the movie or what we read in the news article long after it's finished, and it can cause our emotions to get a little out of whack. Because of our high empathy, when we see something like that, we automatically experience that thing as if we were the person in that movie, or as if the situation happening in that news article was happening to us, and that can be a lot to handle. I also think that many HSPs probably don't really enjoy experiences that are very immersive, like watching a 3D movie in the theaters or playing a video game with VR. I know I really don't like these things. They are way too overwhelming for me. So where a non-highly sensitive person might really enjoy shooting zombies in a VR game because it's like thrilling and exciting and it looks very real, HSPs are already feeling overstimulated and overwhelmed most of the time, and we are looking to turn that dial down instead of up. I've tried a virtual reality game myself and it immediately made me panic, sweating bullets, feeling nauseous. It was just way too much for me. Number 9, you have a high level of empathy. You're very attuned to the feelings of others. You can walk into a room and immediately notice the mood of the people in it. If someone is uncomfortable, if there's a slight change in someone's demeanor or subtle giveaways in someone's body language or facial expressions, you will notice it, and some HSPs even feel the emotions of other people as if they were their own. And because of our high empathy, many HSPs are drawn to professions where we can help others, like teaching or therapy or healthcare. Studies show that HSPs have more active mirror neurons, which are special brain cells that help us to understand what another person is experiencing. We know that the brains of highly sensitive people are wired a bit differently in some ways. For example, we have higher activity in parts of the brain related to emotional and social processing. The funny thing here is that if we are overstimulated ourselves, then this might not hold up. So if you are talking with a friend, let's say in a cafe, like a loud, busy environment, our own arousal is already going to be like off the charts, and we might not really notice these things about the other person. I experience this often, just really not feeling attuned to the person that I'm with if I'm already feeling overstimulated myself. Number 10, you're an overthinker. In addition to having a nervous system that just is more sensitive to stimuli, our brain also processes all our thoughts, all our information more deeply, more thoroughly, and it takes more time. So HSPs might find it difficult to make a quick decision, and you may need a long time to maybe think about what you want to say before you say it. Maybe you've had a social interaction where after the fact you're going over it again and again and again in your head. HSPs have a very rich inner life. Sometimes my boyfriend tells me that I haven't said a word in 2 hours. And I've just been completely unaware of it because in my own head, I've been busy. Like, I've had imaginary conversations, I've thought about the meaning of life and my role in the world. Many HSPs struggle with the feeling of not being able to turn off their mind. And whenever I feel like that, I like to do something to take my mind off it, like do a workout, clean the kitchen, watch a movie. Another really helpful habit is meditation, just finding a few minutes of silence to just sit, let your mind settle a little bit. It's very helpful. So now I would love to know, after hearing these 10 signs, do you think that you are a highly sensitive person? Have you known for a while? Is this new for you? Are you doubting certain things? Or maybe you think, okay, I'm not a highly sensitive person, but I know someone who could be. So I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences. If you want to share them in the comments, that would be really, really great. And if you want to learn more about HSP, I recommend checking out my video playlist. I've made a bunch of videos on it by now. For example, like what kinds of self-care are best things to do. What kind of benefits being highly sensitive has. I also go into the differences between HSP and autism in another video. I get a lot of questions about that. So I will leave the link to the playlist right there and in the description box if you want to learn more. And as always, I recommend the Highly Sensitive Person book from Elaine Aron. Elaine Aron is the psychologist that first coined the term highly sensitive person. She's done a lot of research on it. This book changed my life. You know the deal. Link in the description box. Thank you so much for being here. And if you found value in this video, I would love it if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those things really do help, and it'll help this video reach more people. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye. I can't believe I'm turning 36 this week. I feel like as I get older, the years go by quicker and quicker. It feels like yesterday when I turned 35.